It reminds me of I had another guy from the Joseph Campbell Foundation on, Scott Neumeister, and he had this great
Hmm.
quote where he said, "You have to figure out where you are in the story, but also where the story is in you." And by kind of
Yes.
coming at it from those two angles, you orient yourself in such a way that things become much more meaningful.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Scott's great. That's a great thought. And it's actually came me back to your comment about Jung and dream work. And I think my favorite, and I've dabbled a little bit in it. I'm one of those people that doesn't tend to remember my dreams. I'm very jealous. I'm very envious of people that are like, "Ooh, I have a thing. I can write it down." I'm like, But the image that I love that he was working was, what happens if you pose the question? Like we assume that we're doing the dreaming, it's our dream. And his question was, well, what happens if you're actually being dreamt by what's in the dream? And again, God, a movement that opens up the place to space to play there. It's really cool. And then you get out of the, if you dream of a snake, it means this. And if you dream of a,
Yeah,
which isn't, whatever, it's like bad English poetry classes in eighth grade when teachers went, this is what the symbolism means.
yeah.
Did you talk to the poet? Did you know the poet?
Yeah, that's a funny thing about poetry and music in general. If you actually
Yeah.
talk to the poet, if you actually talk to the musician, you see this all the time with musicians where people say, "Is this what your song means? Is that what your song means?" And they're like, "Yeah, that was on the back of a cereal box." Like it's, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I find often, particularly when I'm writing poetry, I will find um, stuff that comes that I had no idea was cooking in it. Like even I was actually was a poem about sort of imagining stuff into being, and I was sitting next to my husband was decorating the Christmas tree at our house a number of years ago, and he used to be a lighting designer for the theater, so it is a multiple hour process. And the lights, and I'm like bored. So I'm trying to write this paper on imagination, and as I'm watching it, and I had this sense of this sort of mythic sense of the tree and the symbolism of the tree and the um the sort of Dionysian connections into the Jesus stories, and had a line about the crucifixion of this being. And I wrote it not the way crucifixion is spelled with an X, but I wrote it as crucifixion, as fictionalizing. Didn't even know it in the moment. Like, and honestly went back, read the poem multiple times and didn't even see it. And then the faculty member that I was writing the paper for was like, "Oh, that was an interesting move." And I'm like, "Yes, it was."
it just came out of your
I
unconscious. You didn't even
had,
know it was
yep.
there.
And that's that, right? Like that's that stuff is coming through us. I had no idea. I claimed it, of course. I said, yes, that was very calculated on my part. But that's the fun part, is like when you could go back and you see that stuff and go, oh, like this was working in me in ways that I didn't even think about, which is pretty cool.
It is very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think all this frivolity. That's still a tough one for me to say.
Frivolity. So
Frivolity.
frivolity. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Like
a,
quality. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, frivolity, play, the left-handed path, stepping away from the story. It, yeah, just living in a creative way, being weird,
Yeah.
making the myth your own, or the ritual, the tradition your own. I think that, yeah, every time you see people do that, they almost to a person turn around and try to encourage other people to do it as well.
It's an incredibly freeing thing, I think. And once you've discovered it, it's like, you want playmates, you want sort of, fellow bad kids to go out and smoke the metaphoric cigarette with you behind the school, because there's nothing more fun than when you're being slightly bad to have playmates doing it with you. But I also think it's so, when you kind of allow yourself to fall into that, it's really delightful. And I think we're often missing that kind of delight in our lives. And so, yeah, it's like just like sprinkling frivolous fairy dust wherever you go in some way or another. And I think a lot of people that do it would never characterize it that way.